It's Tuesday, January 20th, 2015, and here are the stories we're covering this week. The German city of Munich wants to help shape the future of LibreOffice, so they've joined the Document Foundation Advisory Board. The MintBox Mini has double the performance of its predecessor and will fit in your pocket. Goodbye, Google Glass. We barely knew ya. Imagine being able to generate power by walking. That's what's being developed by a team of German researchers who plan to use the technology to power self-lacing shoes. Target is closing all its Canadian stores, not even 2 years after moving here. Canadian anti-spam laws have made it illegal for programs to auto-update without your consent. And the British-built Mars rover sent to Mars in search of signs of alien life was set to land and never heard from again. Now, 11 years later, NASA's got eyes on its whereabouts. These stories are coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
Introducing Belltone First, a revolutionary new hearing aid. So small you can hardly see it. So comfortable you can hardly feel it. For the first time ever, you can control hearing aids directly from your iPhone. Pick up the phone, listen to music, and use your hearing aids like wireless headphones. Hear everything that matters. Try Belltone First. For a free trial, call 1-800-BELLTONE now.
I'm Sasha Germanis, and here are the top stories from the Category 5.tv newsroom. The city of Munich has joined the Document Foundation Advisory Board. Germany's third largest city has a long history of using open source software, much of it well documented. More than 16,000 PCs of public employees run the open source Linux operating system, and the city makes heavy use of LibreOffice and its open file formats. The role of the advisory board is to provide the Document Foundation with feedback on how the software is being used, what features or improvements need to be made, providing assistance in initiatives, community projects and marketing, and providing donations to further development and outreach. Companies pay an annual fee as a member of the board, the exact cost of which varies depending on contribution and the number of employees, with fees starting at $5,000 and topping out at $20,000. As a heavy user of the LibreOffice productivity suite, the City of Munich's contributions will be invaluable in helping to guide the project towards even greater usability. That is great news, Robbie. My goodness.
So? Who knows what it'll bring?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Good Linux awesomeness. Now, more Linux awesomeness. Linux Mint has announced that a new PC in its MintBox line of PCs is coming in the spring, the MintBox Mini. The new box continues the distro's long-standing partnership with Israeli computer manufacturer CompuLab, which began with the release of the original MintBox PC back in 2012. That was followed the year after by the more powerful MintBox 2, a device which sold out in Europe on its Amazon debut last year. The MintBox Mini is 5 times smaller than the original MintBox and is barely an inch tall. Like the previous editions, the new model is fanless, with the case design working as a passive cooling system. Previous MintBox models had a very distinctive look, but if we can be critical of anything with the MintBox Mini, it's the utilitarian design. It looks like a little DSL modem wearing an aluminum shed. That said, something this tiny is going to be easy to hide away if you want. The MintBox Mini offers twice the performance of the MintBox 2 in a form factor you could slip into a pocket. Inside, it touts an AMD A4 6400T CPU, which is a 1 GHz 64-bit and boasts 4 cores. It also has a Radeon R3 GPU, 4 GB RAM, and a 64 GB solid-state hard drive. Wow. That is a lot, Robbie.
Yeah, I'll say. That could make a nice little web server, if you ask me. With those kind of specs, you could host a website on that. It'd be screaming fast. Let alone what else you could do with it as a desktop. But
yeah,
slip it into your pocket. Nice.
I just love how absolutely tiny it is.
And they don't use a lot of power, too, right? You think about the fact that this thing, I think in terms of web servers and things like that and services, but the amount of power that a full-size server uses versus a little solid-state device with not even a moving part.
Yeah.
How excellent.
And then one of the problems with servers is if they overheat, right? So if it's that small, it's got to be easy to keep cool. You would think.
Passive. It's aluminum. So it's like a heat sink, right? So what's a comparison? I guess if you've seen the inside of a computer, you've seen a heat sink, but like chips will have like an aluminum fin on it that draws the heat away from the chip, right?
Yeah.
So the whole computer is based on that kind of passive cooling system.
Yeah.
Works pretty good.
That is awesome. The MintBox Mini will be $295 when sold to the US and £295 shipped in Europe.
Not bad.
A portion of the sales will go to supporting Linux Mint and cover the cost of the whopping 5-year warranty.
Since these are going to be sold 5 years, wow.
5 years.
Wow.
Whopping 5 years.
Since these are going to be sold on Amazon, we should add these to the shop.category5.tv. So if you want one, once they're available, why don't we do that?
That would be great.
That
Maybe
sounds
I
like a
could
good plan.
get one and review it for my show.
There you go. Perfect little device for Try It By.
Yes. Google is ending sales of its Google Glass eyewear. The company insists it is still committed to launching the smart glasses as a consumer product, but it will stop producing glass in its present form. Instead, it will focus on future versions of glass, with work carried out by different divisions than before. The Explorer program, which gave software developers the chance to buy glass for $1,500 or £990, will close. The program was launched in the United States in 2013. It was then opened up to anyone and was launched in the UK last summer. It has been expected that it would be followed reasonably quickly by a full consumer launch. But from next week, the search firm will stop taking orders for the product, but it says it will continue to support companies that are using glass. The things learned from glass will be used in the development of yet-to-be-announced future products from Google. Several companies have launched smart glasses and various other forms of wearable technology, but no single product has yet proved to be a major hit that technology companies are looking for as they seek out the next big thing. Google has tried to present this announcement just as another step of the evolution of amazing innovation, but make no mistake, Google Glass is dead, at least in its present form. I'm not really upset about this because I wasn't all that impressed by Google Glass,
True.
to be honest.
But if you had spent the money to buy one, thinking that it was going to evolve into a more popular project, and then it's basically dead.
I would like wearable technology that put people around you at ease, because people wearing Google Glass, or even people wearing like a watch that takes pictures or video, makes me feel really uncomfortable. Like as soon as I see somebody with one of those watches on, I think to myself, oh, are you recording this conversation?
Right.
And I never had a conversation with somebody with Google Glass on, but I'm pretty sure that I would feel like they were, recording me.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of one of those things. It's like the Bluetooth headset. It was a fad, and you've got to wear it, but then you realize that, okay, don't wear it all the time. Don't wear it all the time, and Google Glass is no exception to that rule. Yeah, that's true. I serve people that wear the Bluetooth earpiece, and I have a really hard time when they're kind of looking off, knowing whether or not they're actually... Can I tell you a story? Not to digress, but I was in the shopping center, and I'm an outgoing guy, and I don't mind conversing with strangers and stuff. And this lady was walking by, and she was talking away, and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say? Something like that. And she says, oh, this idiot just started talking to me randomly. And she's talking on this Bluetooth. She's just walking around with a Bluetooth headset, and it's just like, come on.
There was a commercial about that, about people in a grocery store having exactly that awkward interaction. That happened to you actually in real life. It
actually happened to Robbie.
So this is why Google Glass is like a near hit, but a miss. So here's a great invention that I would like as a waitress. German researchers have built shoe-sized devices that harvest power from the act of walking. The technology could be used to power wearable electronic sensors without the need for batteries. There are two separate devices, a shock harvester that generates power when the heel strikes the ground, and a swing harvester that produces power when the foot is swinging. Both energy harvesting devices generate power by exploiting the motion between magnets and coils. As the magnetic field of a moving magnet passes by the stationary coil, a voltage is induced and an electric current is generated. The energy they generate is still relatively small, in the 3 to 4 milliwatt range at their peak. That's not nearly enough to charge a smartphone, for example, which would typically require about 2,000 milliwatts, but it is enough to power small sensors and transmitters, opening up a range of new applications. So I wonder what sort of applications you could have on something that, like, small energy-wise. You couldn't charge a smartphone, but maybe you could monitor a heartbeat or something. I don't know.
Maybe, like something like pacemakers or things like, or monitoring stuff, fitness.
Exactly.
Stuff. I use the word stuff because I don't know the technical term for these things. Fitness stuff. I don't. You know
fitness stuff, Robbie?
I don't know anything about fitness stuff. Come on. But you know what? At the cottage we've got a flashlight with one of those magnet with the coils, and you shake the flashlight and it charges the battery, and then you turn it on and you've got your flashlight. You don't ever have to replace the batteries on the flashlight, so it makes sense, right?
But you know what actually makes sense, to be honest, that in mind, is if you had like a little light on the bottom of these shoes that when you were creating energy, instead of having one of, joggers at night, they have to wear all of those reflective doodads. Yeah. So if you had...
You look like robots, we say to the kids. The kids, we joke that if you're a runner, you look like a robot.
Yeah, and if you're like the kids' old flashy shoes, right? But if you had something that sensed when it was dark, then it could, alert... Anyway,
think of those flashy shoes, though. My kids have those flashy shoes, and once the batteries are dead, they're garbage.
Right.
As far as the flashing goes, because to kids that's important. So if it stops flashing, it's no longer any good. So something like this, all of a sudden, it is able to self-charge.
Right.
How perfect is that?
So this is the information. This is what they're going to do with this new technology. Clevis Yili from HSG IMIT, a research center in Germany, said the swing harvester was developed with the intention of making a self-lacing shoe for the elderly.
Way to go, Marty McFly.
Yeah, way to go. The shoe would detect when a user stepped into it and lace itself up, as well as open up again when required. Hopefully. The harvesting device would generate the energy for the closing mechanism. Details of the advance are outlined in the journal Smart Materials and Structures. This is just really positive, great use of new technology. I love it.
It's so simple, and it's something that we've been waiting for some time from Back to the Future. Self-lacing shoes, and you think, oh, that's lazy, but no, for the elderly, that's perfect.
Or somebody with like a real bad back injury.
That's what I'm thinking when I think
mobility issues in any way, right? So not just the elderly, but even
sports injuries and stuff. See, I know all about sports injuries.
Oh, goodness. Meanwhile, in Canada, 2 major retailers are calling it quits in Canada. Target Canada announced on January 15th that it will close 133 stores across Canada. The U.S.-based retailer launched in Canada in March 2013 to high expectations. Unfortunately, due to numerous problems such as higher prices and less selection in Canada than the U.S., it never established itself in the Canadian market.
Due to higher prices and less stock?
Yes.
You know what? If I can just say, one of the problems that I had with Target coming into Canada is that they bought Zellers, which is a chain that we grew up with, and they shut them all down. And people were out of work. So it really felt like the U.S. coming in and shutting down our stores. So I don't think it's about stock and those kinds of things so much as
boycott.
Maybe an unspoken boycott of everyone who loved the Hudson's Bay Company Zeller stores.
Okay, so here's a funny story about how passionate and patriotic I was when I was younger. So we had a fairly well-known American big box store move into Barrie, and I boycotted it for 4 years, or maybe even 5 after it moved in. And I sort of similarly did the same thing with Target. I thought to myself, it's American. I can just go down the street and get all my stuff from... And then I realized that I have become so used to shopping at Walmart that I've now turned it Canadian in my head.
Sure. And it's don't get us wrong. It's nothing to do with America or United States or anything like that. It has to do with the business practice of annexing companies and shutting them down, putting their people out of work. Like my people who are close to me, family and friends, who had worked with Zellers for so many years, all of a sudden losing their work after so many years of faithful service with the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It has nothing to do with the American companies. It has to do with, losing the Canadian ones.
Exactly, yeah.
Consequently, the company lost about $2 billion over 2 years. The closures mean 18,000 employees will lose their jobs. Many of Target's locations were formerly Zellers stores. See?
There you go.
Meanwhile, Sony Canada also announced it will shut down all its stores over the next 6 to 8 weeks. It has 14 stores, with 3 of them in the Lower Mainland.
I'm surprised they're that small.
Yeah.
Sony used to be, like the Sony store was a big deal way back in the day.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I can't remember, I can't think of the last time I was in a Sony store, which is funny. I guess they must have been paring back slowly.
It's hard when you're a brand, when you're a specific brand. If think of any brand and say, let's open a store that is specific to that brand. Meanwhile, it's a premium priced brand. And everything, you go to a big box store where there are 10 different brands to choose from, and you can choose based on quality and price, versus walking into a store where everything is one brand and you have no say in the price or the selection.
The Japan-based company has not released a statement explaining why the stores are being closed. The closures were announced in the wake of the much-publicized Sony Entertainment hack linked to the release of the Vancouver-shot film The Interview. Interesting. All right. So, who knows? Maybe The Interview caused Sony to...
I don't know that there's actually any relation with Sony Pictures.
Yeah. I don't know. All right. This week in Canada, installing computer programs without consent became a civil offense punishable by fines. Under the new regulations that form part of Canada's anti-spam legislation, it is now illegal for a website to automatically install software on a visitor's computer or an app on your phone to be outdated without first obtaining express consent from the owner or another authorized party. That's good.
I think that's great.
Yeah. I mean, except that if you're going to be sort of malicious anyhow, you're probably not going to listen to the rule that you ought not to be. You know what I'm saying?
But I suppose if there are fines, then the hope is that they're going to be able to crack down on it. But how many of these websites that are distributing software, which is going to be malicious if it's installing itself without its permission, without your permission anyways, who else would do that but malicious users? How many of them are based in Canada and subject to our
Canadian fine
laws?
Yeah.
Right? They're not Canadian websites, most likely.
Right.
Does it really have an impact?
But it might just set the ball rolling, right?
Yeah.
The updated rules are designed to protect Canadians from the most damaging and deceptive form of spam and online threats without interfering with legitimate businesses. The revised rules are targeting nuances such as adware on PCs and rogue apps on smartphones. False or misleading representations of products or services are also prohibited under the new regulations. Canadians are encouraged to report suspected violations of Canada's anti-spam laws to the Spam Reporting Centre at fightspam.gc.ca. So you have a place to go.
Finally, a place to go to report it. I wonder if would this have any bearing on, say, Facebook, and you're using the Facebook app and you click on messages and it says you need to have such and such app, but I guess if you consent and say okay, and if you don't, then you don't get the ability to send messages. So I guess what good is it? Really? It's all just legislation of people who are not actually users, who don't understand the technology and how it works, and they say, oh, it looks good on paper, you have to consent to install this stuff, but it really does nothing.
People blindly consent to things all the time anyhow. I know when I watch people download apps, they don't even read through what they're agreeing to, and they just consent.
Goodness, pages and pages of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All the good stuff is hidden in the fine print. All right. One of the most glorious near misses in the history of British exploration, Beacon 2, has been found. The British-built Beacon 2 began its fall to Mars on December 19, 2003. It was expected to land on the Red Planet on Christmas Day and begin its search for alien life. But it was never heard from again. The aliens may have found it. Now, high-resolution images snapped over the last 2 years by NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter shows the probe essentially to just where it ought to be, within 3 miles of its target landing location. It also appears intact. Good job. So what happened? The theory based on the images is that 1 or 2 of the probe's 4 pedals holding the solar panels did not deploy. Mission manager Professor Mark Sims says, without full deployment, there would have been no way we could have communicated with it as the radio frequency antenna was under the solar panels. That's unfortunate. I wonder if the antenna was not placed under the panels, whether or not even without the panels there could have been communication.
There must have been a reason, like it's protecting it or something, like a shell.
Yeah.
And then it's supposed to open up, but it didn't open up, so the antenna couldn't pop up.
It's too
of
bad.
All the fails, eh? Like there's an epic fail, as the kids say.
Yeah. Oops. While the probe can't be brought back to life, Professor Sims claims this is not the end of the story. They plan to do more imaging and analysis, but since the probe is intact, the team can be proud that they, in fact, were the first to successfully penetrate Mars's atmosphere and land on Mars, even if they couldn't continue from there. So, congratulations and way to go. You've done it.
Yeah, the NASA website says that it was a failed mission, but technically, based on a technicality, you landed on Mars.
Yeah, it's completely not failed.
Congratulations.
You get a 50.
50-50. Yeah. Well, you got all the way there. You landed. You got through the atmosphere. Way to go.
That's true. A for effort.
That's an accomplishment for sure.
For all your tech news with a slight Linux bias, visit the Category5.tv newsroom at newsroom.category5.tv. For the Category5.tv newsroom, I'm Sasha Dermatis, enjoying the sun in Jamaica.